Mine will be an order not of gold, but the stars and moon of the chill night.
So I know Frost can cancel a lot of Malenia's attacks, but this is just ridiculous. This is a franchise favourite Darkmoon Greatsword Moonlight Greatsword build, my friends, and it doesn't come any more boss destroying and literally cooler than this. It's a very fun build to play as we have a CARIAN Regal Scepter in our offhand and a Golden Order Seal, so we have some amazing offensive and supportive sorceries and incantations, making this build unstoppable. With Terra Magicka and RANNI'S Darkmoon, we flip the start of every boss fight in our favour by hitting them hard and lowering their defence from a distance. Then we let blasts of Moonlight destroy our enemies before they can even get close. A supporting cast of Armour, Talismans and Physick tiers will further boost our numbers into game-breaking territory. In just a few minutes you'll have this ruthlessly cold and cool celestial build in the palm of your hands. We will dive in deep covering the what, the where, the why and the how. My fellow Tarnished, I give you the Moon Knight. First up, our weapons. So, as mentioned, we have one of the 9 legendary armaments, the Darkmoon Greatsword, plus 10, with the awesome weapon skill, Moonlight Greatsword. The Darkmoon Greatsword is simply one of the best weapons in the game. This S-tier weapon deals physical and magical damage with 55 frost build-up. It has an awesome franchise favourite weapon skill called Moonlight Greatsword, which I'm sure all you Soulsborne fans know all too well. The Darkmoon Greatsword scales with strength, dexterity and intelligence, with intelligence having the best scaling at plus 10. Getting the Darkmoon Greatsword has to be one of the most epic quests in Elden Ring. You will need to complete Ranni's questline and give her the Darkmoon Ring. I actually have a full video on my YouTube channel which is a complete guide on how to get the Darkmoon Greatsword. I will link it in the description. The weapon skill Moonlight Greatsword pays homage to the weapon we see throughout the Soulsborne franchise. You can tap or hold R2 to release a crescent-shaped beam of moonlight at your foes. This does great damage, causes frost buildup, and really can make even the hardest bosses very easy. We have 2 weapons in our offhand switch. The first is the CARIAN Regal Scepter plus 10. The CARIAN Regal Scepter is a great glintstone staff that is in fact the most powerful non-FP increasing staff in the game when you have 70 intelligence or higher. It scales primarily with intelligence and you'll get S scaling with intelligence at plus 10. It also boosts full moon sorceries, including Renala's Full Moon and RANNI'S Darkmoon, the latter of which we will be using. The CARIAN Regal Scepter can be obtained by exchanging the Remembrance of the Full Moon Queen with Enya at the Round Table Hold. The CARIAN Regal Scepter's weapon skill, Spinning Weapon, is incredible. You will project forward, spinning spiraling blue particles that deal magical damage, scaling with your intelligence. We also have a Golden Order Seal plus 10 in the offhand to cast Incantations. The Golden Order Seal is fantastic because it is a multi-scaling seal. At plus 10, the Golden Order Seal will have A scaling with both intelligence and faith, making it an awesome choice for mage builds. It also boosts Golden Order Incantations. You can get the Golden Order Seal very easily by picking it up at the Minor Erdtree Church just inside Leinville Royal Capital, here on the map. Easy peasy. Right, whilst we're talking about stats and scaling, let's have a look at our starting class and stats before we go any further. At this point, guys, I really hope you don't mind making my dreams come true by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. If you guys like my content even half as much as I like your comments, then I am one very proud content creator. I started with the Vagabond class and our stats are Vigor at 60, this is the hard cap for our health, giving us a lot of survivability. Mind at 38, this gives us plenty of FP to cast multiple Moonlight Greatsword beams, RANNI'S Darkmoon, and our incantations. Endurance at 35, this is nice and high and it keeps us manoeuvring. We can dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge nice and easily whilst keeping our attacks going. Strength at 16, this is the minimum we need to wield the Darkmoon Greatsword in one hand. Dexterity we leave at base. Intelligence at 80, this is the hard cap for scaling all of our magical attacks. Faith at 30, this is the minimum for some of the incantations I'm going to show you later on. And Arcane we can leave at base. Now let's have a look at our armour. Now, a lot of you may be screaming at the screen noticing that I'm not using RANNI'S armour set. I am using the Spellblade set. The Spellblade set boosts our magical dealing skills by 8% total. That's 2% for each piece of the Spellblade gear you wear. This means that we are boosting our Moonlight Greatsword beam by 8%. If you want to boost RANNI'S Darkmoon, which we'll come to later, then you can of course equip the Snow Witch's hat for a 10% boost, but I like putting everything into boosting the Moonlight Greatsword. I will link where to get these armor pieces in the description. Our Talismans next, and as usual they are very focused and helping us boost our damage numbers even higher. We'll start with the Shard of Alexander. The Shard of Alexander has to be one of the best talismans in Elden Ring. It boosts damage of any skill by 15%. The Shard of Alexander will be your reward for completing Iron Fist Alexander's questline. This quest is easily done by simply exhausting his dialogue after the Radahn boss fight, and then again where he appears in Mount Gelman near the Magma Worm. When you finally meet him later on in Crumbling Fire Missoula, you will duel with him, and the Shard of Alexander will be your reward for defeating him. Next, we have the Magic Scorpion Charm. The Magic Scorpion Charm will increase our magic damage by 12%. The Magic Scorpion Charm can be obtained by giving Preceptor Seluvis the Amber Starlight after Seluvis tells you about his scheme. He can be found in Seluvis' Rise here on the map, and I'll pop a link in the description for this one. Third is the Godfrey Icon. The Godfrey Icon is an awesome talisman which raises the attack power of charged spells and skills by 15%. This can really boost our damage output if you are charging things up, which we will be. The Godfrey Icon is dropped by Godfrey the Grafted, found in the Golden Lineage Everjail in the Altus Plateau here on the map. This is great when charging up the Moonlight Greatsword beam and unleashing it on foes. In our 4th slot, you can decide what you want, really. I have actually gone for the Dagger Talisman, as I have found that I am staggering so many bosses, and I really like having a damage boost to the critical hits I am dealing. The Dagger Talisman is giving us plus 17% boost to our critical hits, and it can be found in the Volcano Manor, behind the Stone Sword Key Imp statue, in the area of hanging cages that you drop down. I'll pop a link in the description for this one. Just out of curiosity at this point, what would you put in the 4th talisman slot? The Graven Mass Talisman, maybe? A Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman? There are several that could work. So I think now would be a good time to mention my Discord server and the 2,000 plus active members who I'm sure will be happy to drop you any gear you need to make this build. Come and join us, link in the description. Now, no build would be complete without the Flask of Wondrous Physick taking our buffs to new heights, so let's see what tiers we have equipped before we move on to our spells and incantations. In the Flask of Wondrous Physick we have first, the Magic Shrouding Crack tier. The Magic Shrouding Crack tier will boost our magic damage by 20%. You will get the Magic Shrouding Crack tier by defeating the Erdtree avatar in northeastern Liurnia of the Lakes, east of the Mausoleum compound Site of Grace. Then you can decide what you want in the 2nd slot. I have the Greenburst Crystal tier. The Greenburst Crystal tier is going to increase our stamina recovery speed. You will get the Greenburst Crystal tier by defeating the Putrid avatar found in the Minor Erdtree in Caelid, east of the Smouldering Church. So with all this in place, we are pretty much unstoppable, but let's take our numbers further and look at our spells and incantations, and then we can have a look at the combat. We have 2 support incantations and 2 sorceries to add to this build to further boost its boss freezing capabilities. I will link all information and locations in the description. We start with our trusty Golden Vow. Golden Vow boosts our attack by 15% and our defense by 10%. This is pretty much a no-brainer for any build if you have the faith for it. Next, we have Black Flame's Protection. This gives us plus 35% damage negation, and it stacks multiplicatively with Golden Vow, which gives us a boost of over 45% extra defense, which is awesome. As for our sorceries, we start with Terra Magicka. Terra Magicka is an awesome glintstone sorcery which plants a magical sphere on the ground. While stood within this sphere, your magical attacks will do an extra 35% damage for 30 seconds. This is an awesome way to start boss fights. And then we have RANNI'S Darkmoon. RANNI'S Darkmoon is easily one of the best sorceries in the game. RANNI'S Darkmoon is a full moon sorcery which lowers enemies' magic defense by 10%, and it also causes 270 frost buildup. When this hits and causes frostbite, you will actually lower the enemy's magic defense by 32%, thanks to multiplicative stacking. It's incredible and really stays on theme with the build. Right, let's have a look at combat now and put all of this into practice. For most bosses, I start by buffing with the Flask of Wondrous Physick, Golden Vow, and Black Flame's Protection. These simple buffs are increasing our attack power and defense and our stamina recovery. Then, when I start a boss fight, more often than not, I am going to have some distance between me and the boss. So I get into position, use Moonlight Greatsword to power up, I lay down Terra Magicka, and then I pop off a RANNI'S Darkmoon, or 2, if I have the time. I start most fights with the boss losing a substantial amount of health, and being debuffed by taking 32% extra magic damage. As you can see here, Melania has already almost half of her health bar gone, and we haven't even started. If you can, try and fire a Moonlight Beam from within Terra Magicka to get going with with boosted damage. But from here on out, you can just keep a safe distance and space and bait bosses for an opening to fire off a Moonlight beam. Remember that the Moonlight Greatsword beam is chargeable, so a fully charged beam is being boosted by the Godfrey icon. One combo I love that works amazingly against Malenia is a RANNI'S Darkmoon followed by a Moonlight beam. Malenia can easily dodge the Moonlight beam, but RANNI'S Darkmoon starts slow and then speeds up. This means that Malenia will dodge as soon as you release RANNI'S Darkmoon, and then she comes on the offensive. This means if you charge a Moonlight beam as soon as you can, she will run straight into it and get hit by RANNI'S Darkmoon. This is devastating. And that is really all there is to the combat, guys. Cycle between RANNI'S Darkmoon and the Moonlight Greatsword beam, chugging some FP flasks along the way. So my question to you is, what can we do to make this build even better? I want to know your thoughts on it. Get in the comments and let's get chatting. I would quickly like to sign off by thanking Ashen for this incredible build. Legend.